The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon video. In this video, we will be looking at the final episode from House of the Dragon's first season. After waiting for well over 3 years for House of the Dragon to finally air on HBO, the first season is already over, and I must say, I am sad to see it go. I think it's safe to say all of us have been eagerly awaiting for this final episode because we've all been wondering how it would end. However, with that being said, I don't think any of us actually want it to be over either. Now, as I have said in my other videos, I will not be leaving the internet now that House of the Dragon's first season has ended. Like I did during the run of Game of Thrones, I will be here still making videos every single week. Even if HBO announces it will be another 5 years before House of the Dragon airs its second season, I will still make videos during that long night. I mean, after all, this is what I do, and this is what I will always do unless one day HBO decides they want to have me exiled from the realm. So, if you're a major fan of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, don't go anywhere just yet. I actually have over 100 different video ideas saved in my notes on my phone that I was never able to make during the season, and that list grows longer every day. I was hoping I could have made even more videos during the season, but there's only so many hours in the day. Since it will most likely be over a year before we finally see the following season of House of the Dragon, I will begin making all of those videos this week and for the foreseeable future. Now, as you all know, House of the Dragon Season 1 finale will show us what happens after Rhaenyra finally learns her father has died, and Aegon has ascended the Iron Throne without her knowledge. Like we saw in Game of Thrones, we will see Westeros and its major houses descend into madness as everyone fights over who they believe is the rightful heir. And, once again, as you all know, in the Game of Thrones you either win or you die. There is no middle ground. Now, before we get started, I have to let all of you know about this awesome game that has some interesting similarities to House of the Dragon. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Bloodline: Heroes of Lethis. If you don't already play Bloodline, now is the time to do so because the game just got the biggest update ever. The newly added Hybrid system is mind-blowing. Bloodline has one of the most unique mechanics I've ever seen. Download the game with my link in the description, or simply scan the QR code you see on the screen, or use my promo code to get a special starter pack for the next 30 days. Bloodline: Heroes of Lethis is a strategic card-based RPG where you can not only collect champions and build kingdoms, but also create half-blood heirs of your houses by merging the powers of various bloodlines, such as demigods, dragonborn, orcs, elves, lycans, and more. You will collect champions while you're building up your kingdom and its economy, and then you can customize your champions through their unique marriage system to create over 800 different new hybrids between any two bloodlines. Not only inheriting their talents and traits, but also their unique appearances passed down from each family tree and merged into one. You will want to mix your strongest bloodlines to one another to create the strongest possible offspring, and then continue the process for generations to empower your house in different ways. You can also freely swap the gender of your champions. New fantasy characters are being released into the game every month, which means that the possibilities are endless for you to seek out the best and the greatest hybrid champion to suit your style. Nothing beats this new vampire clan, the Accursed, which is coming to the game as a brand new lineage of your bloodline this Halloween. They are the darkest and most terrifying assassins yet to be found in the world of Lethis, an undead clan that rose alongside the Dark Elves from the ashes of their homeland's cataclysm. These Wrath Lords were cursed by the dark ritual that has given them an insatiable thirst for blood. They can not only nuke your enemy, but also sustain themselves on the battlefield during longer fights. By participating in the Halloween event starting October 27th, you will be able to obtain an Accursed champion for free on your 7th day of playing. Bloodline: Heroes of Lethis is available for free on both Android and iOS devices. Download the game with my link in the description, or simply scan the QR code you see on the screen to get a special starter pack worth $20, including 10 energy points, 100,000 gold, and 100 diamonds for the next 30 days. Once again, I would like to thank Bloodline for sponsoring today's video. House of the Dragon Season 1 finale begins with a shot of the table on Dragonstone. As you all know, this is the same one that was here on Dragonstone when Stannis and then Daenerys was living here. It has been here since the very first Aegon had it made years before he united Westeros. Now Rhaenyra and Daemon will make great use of it as they decide how they will defeat their enemies and get the Iron Throne. The final episode also begins with a very interesting conversation Rhaenyra has with her son Lucerys. In this scene, he reveals he doesn't think he deserves the island of Driftmark. Although he's only a young boy, he doesn't feel worthy because he's nothing like the legendary sea snake. He believes it should have went to Aemond Velaryon. However, Rhaenyra says something that may have influenced Lucerys, and unfortunately, it may have inadvertently led to his death. Rhaenyra says she had similar feelings when she was much younger, but she decided she could fix this by earning her inheritance. That advice may have led to Lucerys volunteering to hand-deliver his mother's message to Lord Baratheon, as a way of making a name for himself. Now, with that being said, he might have done it anyway because his older brother Jace was eager to get involved anyway. After this is when Rhaenys arrives and reveals what happened at King's Landing. Rhaenyra and Daemon are shocked when they find out Viserys has died. Daemon immediately believes Alicent was behind the death of Viserys. Now, I gotta be honest, it is a little funny how Daemon seems so blindsided by this revelation. He saw how Viserys looked when he was last in King's Landing. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Alicent or Ser Otto either, but I don't know if I would have immediately thought someone murdered Viserys. I would actually be more shocked if they said he was still alive, but maybe that's only me. What really sends Rhaenyra over the edge is when she learns Aegon has succeeded her. This is what actually sends her into early labor, although I'm sure the news of her father's death did help accelerate it as well. However, it was Aegon's coronation that gave her a visceral reaction. When they find out Rhaenys was a witness to this, Daemon wonders the exact same thing every fan did when watching the scene. Why didn't Rhaenys burn them all alive? Well, she more or less says it's not her fight, and this is something we will notice throughout most of the episode. Rhaenys isn't so fast to stand with either side. She doesn't bend her knee when Rhaenyra is given her father's crown, and she doesn't agree with Daemon when he says Meleys is one of the dragons who will help them in the battle. It was obvious Rhaenys also wanted to wait and see how her husband would react to all of the new information. I mean, after all, Daemon did behead his brother Vaemond. She didn't know exactly how he would feel about that, so I understand why she held back her allegiance during some of the scenes. The sudden shock of all this information sends Rhaenyra into labor, and I thought this scene was very interesting because it also revealed how the dragons react to their riders. As Rhaenyra was in labor, there were several flashes to her dragon Syrax, who also seemed to be affected by her rider's suffering. I thought it was a great way of showing their connection with one another. It makes me wonder, does Rhaenyra have a greater bond with her dragon than the others, or do they all share this same bond once they mount their individual dragons? The end of this episode did seem to suggest otherwise when we saw Arrax and Vhagar do what they wanted, regardless of whatever command their rider was giving. Maybe the dragons don't listen as well whenever they feel their life is in danger. Either way, it seems Viserys was right when he said the Targaryens having control over their dragons is only an illusion. It's very interesting nonetheless. Now, back on Dragonstone, Daemon goes full Daenerys Targaryen when he has the men of the Kingsguard swear fealty to Rhaenyra. He understandably wants to make sure they're loyal. He reminds them of who Viserys named his heir right before he died. Not only did we see Daenerys do the same thing to Samwell's father and brother, but Daemon also recites one of her lines from the first season of Game of Thrones. He says if they betray her, they will die screaming. This is the same thing Daenerys said to Mirri Maz Duur. Unfortunately, Rhaenyra loses her daughter, and as described in Fire and Blood, the baby was malformed, though not as bad as I had imagined. In Fire and Blood it said that her daughter was a monster, but I would not go that far. Her head was misshapen, sure, but that's about it. Now, during the funeral ceremony, only one of the Cargill brothers arrived with Viserys' crown in hand. The other Cargill brother actually stayed in King's Landing to stay on guard with Aegon. If you remember, he actually ran away when this Cargill brother was fighting Sir Criston Cole. Now, Rhaenyra getting her father's crown and having Daemon be the one who sets it on her head was an amazing moment if you ask me. Everyone bending the knee reminded me of when this happened for Daenerys at the beginning of the original show. It always feels as if a character goes through a metamorphosis after this happens. Maybe it's really only me looking at them differently, but it does feel like they give off a different energy moving forward. It is meant to be a symbol of leadership, so that might be why I see them in that light. I actually do believe in her, even if I don't always agree with everything she does. Afterwards, Rhaenyra holds her first Black Council meeting, and I must say, she rolls up in there like a mob boss. Another thing I really loved about this scene is how they lit the table. It made it look as if all of Westeros was on fire. Maybe it's a little foreshadowing for what lies ahead. Daemon then recites a line directly from Fire and Blood when he announces how many men are on Dragonstone. Obviously, their army leaves a lot to be desired, considering they don't have many men at all. And just like in Fire and Blood, we hear what houses haven't sworn allegiance to either side. The Vale, Winterfell, and Storm's End haven't declared for Aegon or Rhaenyra yet, although they all did swear fealty to her many years ago. It was easy for them to swear fealty to her back then, when Viserys did not have a male heir. Now Rhaenyra is about to find out exactly what their words are worth. They're suddenly interrupted when Ser Otto arrives with an offer from King's Landing. Aegon will allow them to live, and even give Rhaenyra and her son some land, so long as they stand down and swear fealty to him. It is interesting how things have shifted during this scene. When we last saw Daemon and Ser Otto face off on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra arrived on Dragonback and helped Ser Otto get Daemon to stand down. Now she's there to stand beside Daemon, and I must say, I like it much better. Rhaenyra sure knows how to make one hell of an entrance, and I guess it is easy when you have a dragon. Dany always knew how to arrive in style also. The scene is heightened even more as the Cargill brothers, better known as Cain and Abel, face off as well, now that they're standing on opposite sides. Once again, another line is recited directly from Fire and Blood when Ser Otto describes how Aegon has the upper hand. Not only does he sit on the Iron Throne, but he also wears the Conqueror's crown, and wields his sword, and so on and so forth. Now, I actually thought Rhaenyra wouldn't even consider his offer, but he had an ace up his sleeve when he tried to win her over through emotion. He gave her the letter from Alicent, which was something from one of the history books they read about Nymeria. It reminded her of their once great friendship, and she suddenly realized what was at stake. This makes Daemon furious because he wanted Ser Otto dead from the very beginning. This is when Rhaenyra reveals Aegon's dream of a Song of Ice and Fire, but Daemon doesn't know what the hell she means. Viserys had never gave him this information because he never intended for Daemon to succeed him. Like we heard Viserys say, this is only meant for those who will ascend the Iron Throne. Daemon lashes out and grabs her by the throat, and I do wonder, was that because he wasn't given the secret? Or is it because he doesn't believe it and thinks it's some nonsense Viserys said to make himself seem more significant? Or maybe Daemon's only an asshole. They like having us hate him in one moment, then love him in the next. They hold another Black Council meeting, and that's when Rhaenyra's sons Jace and Luke volunteer to hand-deliver their mother's message to the Vale, Winterfell, and Storm's End. This is also more or less directly from Fire and Blood. Since Jace is older, he is given what is thought to be the more dangerous mission, whereas Luke would go on the shorter mission to Storm's End. Not only is his mission much faster, but they also thought they would win over Lord Baratheon much easier. If only he would have arrived before Aemond and Vhagar, maybe things would have went differently. These final 15 minutes of the episode were absolutely incredible. Now, I've always tried to imagine what Storm's End would look like in my mind, but I never could have imagined this. The seat of House Baratheon was stunning, in a very dark and ominous sort of way. When Lucerys landed his dragon and Vhagar revealed herself from behind the castle wall, he should have got his ass right back on his dragon and left. He knew that meant Aemon was already there, and he obviously knows they do not like each other. Now sure, he would have looked soft if he fled, but hey, sometimes you have to live to fight another day. As soon as he walked inside and I saw Aemon standing next to Lord Baratheon's daughter, I knew exactly how this would end. I mean, I've obviously read Fire and Blood, but you never know what direction the writers will go in. And this scene would show us they did make some alterations of their own. The reason Aemon was standing next to the daughter is because he already had agreed to marry one of them, something Lucerys was not willing to do. Now, his fate might have already been sealed, but I do wonder what Lord Baratheon would have done if Lucerys said he would marry one of his daughters. Would that have swayed him at all? I'm not so sure that it would have, considering Vhagar was right outside. That's obviously not a dragon you want on your bad side, especially when she's laying right outside of your door. Just like in Fire and Blood, when Lucerys says he cannot marry his daughter, Lord Baratheon sends him away with a message of his own. The only difference the show left out was some of the foul language. Now, before he's able to leave, Aemon stops him because he's still angry about losing his eye. And let's be real, I don't blame him for still being upset either. When Aemon revealed the sapphire in his eye, it sent a lot of fans into a frenzy. I've seen a lot of the fans on social media wondering if this means Aemon will become the Night King or a White Walker in the future. Well, the answer is no. As I just said, the reason why his eye is blue like that is because he has a sapphire in his eye. It's not because he's some half-white zombie or anything like that. And let's just say, when Aemond does eventually die, whether it's in battle or of old age, they do find his body. And it is very obvious it's his body for a few good reasons, so we know he doesn't go and join the Night King's army. So, for anyone wondering, his blue sapphire eye has nothing to do with the Night King, the White Walkers, or the Army of the Dead. Now, back outside of Storm's End, the scene becomes genuinely horrifying as Lucerys and his small dragon try to flee from Aemond and Vhagar. It feels like something right out of a scary movie. My eyes damn near fell out of my head when I saw Vhagar fly above Arrax. She literally could have swallowed the dragon whole if she wanted. Now, if you've read Fire and Blood, it always seemed that Aemond wanted to kill Lucerys. However, this scene did not unfold that way here. Aemond was having fun, in his sick sort of way. The dragons did seem to be listening to their riders until they felt like they were in serious danger, then all bets were off. As soon as Arrax let its flame go, Vhagar was out for blood. There was nothing Aemond could have said after this. And this is what Viserys meant when he said the Targaryens having control over their dragons is only an illusion. Aemond looked genuinely shocked by what happened. Unfortunately for him and the realm, no one will believe him. No one's gonna think this was an accident, not after how he acted inside Storm's End. Everyone will assume he did this as a way of getting revenge for his eye. If only the dragon died, maybe they could fix it, but we all saw the look on Rhaenyra's face at the very end. The Dance of the Dragons and the War of Fire and Blood has officially begun. Her considering their offer has now gone up in flames. Now it's only a matter of when and how they will strike back. I don't want to reveal that just yet. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Season 1 of House of the Dragon is over. Like I said earlier, I will be making videos every week during the off-season. I still have a lot to say, and it will not be long before filming on the second season of House of the Dragon begins. Like I did with Game of Thrones, I will follow House of the Dragon and make update videos on everything they do while they're making the next season. So, if you're a massive fan of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and A Song of Ice and Fire, don't go anywhere just yet. There's a lot more videos heading your way. As always, I want to thank all of you for stopping by and showing some love. I hope all of you have a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye.